Hi, I'm Ruth Mohlman from the Farmington Hills Historic District Commission, and I am in the only thing that is left of the old North Farmington. North Farmington at one time was an unincorporated village that went from 13 Mile to 14 Mile and over 14 Mile a ways into West Bloomfield. At one time there was a school, a milk receiving station, a couple of stores, and a busy little farming community. And of course there was the cemetery. The only thing left now is the North Farmington Cemetery, which was founded in 1837-38 by three men, Chauncey Walcott, John Button, and Orange Culver. The Orange Culver house is still there. The other houses are gone. The three men incorporated the cemetery and moved it from Chauncey Walcott's location. He had started a private cemetery, but when they made the new cemetery, they moved the bodies over and they all became part of the North Farmington Cemetery. It's the only cemetery that is still privately owned, and it is still in operation. It is renowned because there is a veteran from Levi Green in the Revolutionary War right down to the Vietnam War. A veteran from every war is buried here. It was reincorporated in 1874 once they had lost some of the records, so they had to become reincorporated. But here we are in the North Farmington Cemetery just before Memorial Day, where Wally Christensen and his wife Lorraine are going to mark the graves of all of the veterans who are buried here with American flags as an honor to these people that have so greatly served our country. And it always interests me that in a community that was founded by Quakers, so many of their descendants became very strong in support of the country and actually were forced to fight in defense of their country. This cemetery is remarkable by the way it is maintained and how they have take such pride in the fighting men that are buried here. I'm going to go now and meet with Wally Christensen as he marks some of the graves for Memorial Day. I'm here with Wally Christensen, who is from the Graves Walker Post of the American Legion, and they are marking the graves of the veterans here in the North Farmington Cemetery. Now tell me about your post. Who was Graves and who was Walker?
Oh, it's Groves and Walker. They were two World War I veterans that were deceased in World War I, local residents, and the post was named after them by the Second World War veterans that built the post now that's on Grand River. The post itself was chartered in 1923, so it's one of the older posts around. It's located at 31775 Grand River in the city of Farmington. The building itself was built by most of the veterans at the end of World War II, and it's been standing there now for over 50-some years.
And you have a special thing that you do every Memorial Day.
Well, Memorial Day, I do the Memorial Day parade, but prior to Memorial Day, I inherited the job that I have here at the cemetery at the present time from Agnes and Charlie Larson, who've done it for many years. We place the memorial flag on every grave of every veteran that served for the country of the United States of America since back to the war of 1776. And to our east of us here is his grave, Levi Green, who fought in the Battle of Bennington in upstate New York in our fight for freedom.
And you went on to veterans, then the next war would have been the War of 1812. Who do we have from that war?
Well, I got some of them listed here. We'll go to the graves and I'll give you the names when we get to the graves for the old timers. They're all out in front of the cemetery. If anybody comes to the North Farmington Cemetery, which is north of 13-mile road on Farmington Road, and it's about a quarter of a mile. You come in the entrance there, and the first thing that you will see will be the old residence of Farmington and Wixom. This was a cemetery for a lot of the people in those days, and we start out there in the front from the War of 1812, and we go right on through. We have we have Confederate War veterans down there, and then we move on into the cemetery as it gets newer, and we do the many of the Confederates, and then World War I, and then World War II, and in the back area that we're standing in here right now is mixed with World War II, Korean War veterans, Vietnam War. In fact, we got 2 new ones that we found today that they've just finally put the grave markers on, and those are individuals that passed in 98 and 99. It takes them sometimes a year or 2 years to get the grave markers in here, and that's when this particular area is here.
And it's almost like a history of Farmington when you walk around and see all the old family names here.
Definitely. This cemetery, since I have taken it over with my wife Lorraine, who, as you see in the background out there putting out flags, people have upgraded this cemetery. There is a whole group I'll show you of a family that they put all brand new tombstones in that go back to people that died at the turn of the century. And so the whole families are getting involved in upgrading this cemetery. But it's gotten a history since I've been involved in it as the cemetery that has veterans from all wars buried in it.
And some of the stones have gotten quite old. It's a shame to lose them, but you can't read anything on some of those stones.
We found one today again that's over here, and we just kind of overlooked it. And with Ruth being with us, it gives us a couple ideas and a couple projects of cleaning some of them off this during this summer. Will be a project that we'll set up.
Let's go take a little walk around and look at some of the stones and tell me about the people.
Okay, we'll do that. Let's see. This is Dennis Royal Ortwine. He was a PFC in Company B of the 28th Infantry. He was killed in Vietnam on March 5th, 1966. Of our more recent wars, and we'll show a few more of these Vietnam veterans that are in this cemetery.
Now his father and mother are here.
Yes, his father and mother are buried next to him. They passed away in 1980, both of them.
Yes, after losing his son. Were they were local people?
Ortwines were, yes.
Mm-hmm. Let's go
Good enough
see.
on that one?
Yes, let's go. You're taking me to a Spanish-American grave?
Yeah, we're trying to find the one that we have a Spanish-American War veteran also here, which I failed to mention, and we'd like to go show you his tombstone.
You were pointing this one out to me?
Yes, Benjamin Carlin. He was a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army. He served in both World War II and Korean War. And we have many of these type of military personnel in the cemetery that answered the call of duty more than once.
It's interesting that it's a community established by Quakers, and we had so many fighting men that
yeah, that's a good point. Never looked at it that way.
Through their country.
This especially is an old Quaker cemetery.
Yes.
We'll show you in the front some of the older tombstones. We're still on our search for our Spanish-American War vet. He's over in his.
We're here looking at the grave of Alfred Smith and Dorothy Smith. Dorothy helped us so much with the history of the Wixom family. She has given us so much background, the Wixoms and the Steeles. And I didn't realize her husband was in the Michigan what?
He was a member of the Michigan contingent in World War I. He was a corporal in the 344th Motor Transportation Corps, and he did serve in France.
And there were some other ones right over here too. There was somebody in the ambulance corps you had?
Yes, this is where your Quakers come in here, I believe, a little bit. Garrett Ibersey is, I think that's how you pronounce it. He was also from Michigan, and he was a private in the 337th Ambulance Company in World War I.
Are you going to put a marker in his grave? Flag on
Yeah,
his grave?
I'm sneaking ahead of my wife. We'll put his on here also. They're coming up behind me with that list.
We're still working towards that Spanish-American grave.
Yeah, I'm going to get him right here. South Sea. I'll find it as we travel.
Okay, we'll head on down this way. We found the grave of the Spanish-American War veteran, Louis Rausch, is it?
Yes, Louis Rausch.
And Mr. Christensen is going to let me put the marker, the flag down for him. We have a kind of good day for doing this because the ground is very soft, having been raining so much. Did I do it properly?
Yeah, he was in Company B, the 20th Kansas Infantry, Spanish-American War.
That was with
It's the only one we have here, but like I said, it maintains our prestige of having one from every war.
That was Teddy Roosevelt's war.
Yes, that was Ted's war.
Where they got San Juan Hill.
And we're not far from Levi's, so we'll wander over to his.
Okay.
That's my big boy, eh?
There's Andrew bringing some more flags for his grandpa.
You're carrying, what are these?
These are American flags.
They're American Legion flags. You can have this little one there. Thank you.
That's a big one. This is a big one.
Watch out. This gentleman, this is a World Confederate War veteran here. He was in the Indiana Volunteers, Company 168 and 128 Regiment. Geyer Jenkins.
What war was that?
That was the War of the Confederacy.
War of the Confederacy. We have a lot of Confederate War veterans. Farmington felt very strongly about that war.
Yes, they did, dude. And this is the area that we'll start finding a lot of those. Okay, let's use that over here.
This is the oldest veteran, and he brought an entire family with him when he came to Farmington. The pioneers, of course, always came in large families, and the Greens are related to practically every pioneer family in Farmington. This is Levi Green. Can you tell me about him?
All right, Levi Green fought in the Battle of 1776. He was a ranger in the Albany Company in New York. And fought the battle in 1777, and it was the Battle of Bennington, which is a very famous battle at that time. We have here another plaque that has been presented to him here. When I first came to this cemetery, this area was huge. You could hardly find the thing. And you could hardly find this particular grave. In fact, this is an updated one right here. The old ones are right here that you can hardly see them.
That's
His wife is in one of them. The guy, what's her name? This is Levi's here.
oh dear, I don't remember offhand.
But this is his original one right here.
Yeah, that's why they make tracings of these old graves when they go to look for them, because you can't find them otherwise.
And we talked about unique graves and tombstones for veterans. I have one over here that we will shoot. I know the family very well, and they'd be probably honored that we did this. When you see this, and it's an old family also.
Okay.
The Fanzini family.
This was someone you were very close to?
Yes, I knew Mr. Fanzini very well, and I grew up with his son James, and they did a real honor to him because of the sportsman that he was. They wanted a very unique tombstone. And if you look here, it's true Michigan. It's the bear, the fish, the deer, the ducks. It's probably a very, very unique tombstone. His wife Ann is buried here with him. James died in 1961. He walked at many a Memorial Day parade here in Farmington in his years.
Where did he serve?
He served in the Army, and in fact, they've got it written down here. Let's see on the back side. Yes, there it is. Sergeant, United States Army. This gentleman served in Algiers, French Morocco, Tunisia, Sicily, Naples, Togia, Rome, Arno, Arnazes, southern France, and the Rhineland. So this guy traveled throughout the continent in World War II. And,
Do you know what he was doing? Was he a special soldier? A special?
he was just a foot soldier.
A foot soldier got around that much.
He ended up as a sergeant leading a platoon.
Wow, the people that we really counted on during the wars.
I often said that he was lucky to make that many campaigns and survive. He's our Autumn Murphy of Farmington, and people don't really realize that a local boy could travel the country with a gun. He did.
And here we are at the grave of George Button. Now he's kind of interesting because his father was one of the founders of this cemetery. His father moved out to Bath, Michigan, and he stayed here and he farmed here. Now, what was his military record?
He was a first lieutenant in Company A of 22nd Michigan Infantry, and that, believe it or not, was in the Confederate War. War of the Confederacy.
It's interesting because everybody thinks that George and his father were related, were the same family as had the orchard, but they were not. They were cousins of that family. So there was another Button family. We talked about the way they come to Farmington, and they always come in big families.
Yeah, they did.
Delia A. Button, huh? 24.
It's also ironical when you come with the old families like the Buttons family. He died in 1923, and she dies a year later. They both were in their 80s, and they lived a good life here in Farmington. He served his country the best way he knew how.
Yes, and the house that he lived in is one of our houses in our historical district also. He lived in the house that they brought in over where the cheese factory used to be.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was his land. You wanted to particularly show me these graves because of the brothers that gave their lives in the service. Can you tell me something about them?
Yeah, both Dean and Don are graduates of Farmington High School in the old days. They went in the service. They both went in the Air Force. Don was killed first in an air raid. He was with the 31st AAF fighter group, and he was a second lieutenant and a pilot. And his brother Dean died almost a year later, and he was a sergeant in the 8th Air Force of the 448 Bomber Group. Both of these young men gave their life for this country. And every year I make sure there's a wreath put here on Memorial Day proper. We hold our services that I talked about on Memorial Day in the back here.
Mm-hmm.
We set up a PA system and we march around the park here, and we've got special people that they put wreaths, many of the flags, special wreaths are put at in remembrance of somebody or a loved one that's still here and with them.
You're doing some, you have a service here, the service is held what date?
It's always the day after Memorial Day, the Memorial Day proper, which is the 30th of May. And we do it at 5:30 in the evening. Mm-hmm. And anybody's welcome. Anybody's welcome.
And you were telling me about the special memorial you're going to do for the Korean War veterans?
Yes, this year starts to be 5th anniversary of the beginning of the Korean War, which was started in June of 1950. And what we did here in Farmington on Memorial Day, we had a special Korean gather with over 150 Korean veterans with special memorial services uptown Farmington. And a little note that a lot of people don't realize that we're at the present time the only city in Michigan that has a living Congressional Medal of Honor winner, and that's Robert Semenek, who got it in Korea as a medic corpsman in the Marine Corps. And he'll be was our principal speaker on Memorial Day here in Farmington. And it was a great honor to have him with us. And at the same time, we had other people like Silver Star winner Parker, Bud Parker, we call him, Farmington High graduate, and many other of the fellows returned. And we honored at that time all the Korean veterans from the area that passed away and those that give their lives in the country. And there was a special presentation of a wreath in honor of the Vietnam War veterans, especially for the young Williams boy who gave his life as a helicopter pilot in Vietnam.
And they are going to have special hats, did you say, in the parade?
Yes, all the Korean veterans wore these white top baseball caps with the bills, and the bills were different colors for branches of the service. Blue was for Air Force, green for the Marine Corps, white for the Navy, and black for the Army. And they said, how did I pick black? I said, brown was bad. And I said, they are the Black Knights of West Point.
Now, where is the memorial going to be for the Korean veterans?
It's on downtown Farmington, right behind the old Masonic Hall, City Hall.
The Korean memorial?
That's where the services are going to be held. We have a Korean memorial in the halls at the American Legion Hall.
Oh.
We have World War I, World War II, Vietnam, and Korean War placards in there.
I thought they were going to start a new memorial or something.
That is in Farmington Hills, and that's going to be in Memorial Park at 11 Mile and Middle Belt. And John Hadhut is the chairman of that group that's working on that.
See, and that should be available pretty soon, or should go up pretty soon.
Well, the park is, you can go into it now. They have no monuments or anything in there really yet, but that's the thing in the future for them. And I'm looking forward to really seeing it because I think it's going to be very special.
Yes.
With John doing it, we know it's going to be special.
Sounds wonderful. Well, thank you very much for taking us through the cemetery and sharing the flag raising for the Memorial Day.
Ruth, it's an honor. I mean, I really appreciate you asking me, and I enjoyed doing it.
Well, thank you very much.
We'll see you again.